Before we get started in earnest here with David Samson, I will again, as this is becoming more and more common, I don't know how many of you get the pit in your stomach where you wake up and overnight, oh, there's been another shooting, another terrible sadness. This one in Orlando, you wake up in the morning and it's journalists covering a shooting who are shot. And so this story will get more attention than most because it happened that way. But I don't even know, David, to say thoughts and prayers and to say a piece of your heart goes out to Orlando, like when it's a daily thing, the words don't end up meaning anything. You can keep saying it, but the words are totally empty.
We've tried to help by getting more people to vote and getting more people to understand what the Second Amendment means. We've spent time on Nothing Personal doing whole shows on the Second Amendment. And the problem I have is what happened yesterday. It is something that another thing that it never occurred to us that would happen. There was a shooting, which is all too common. And then news people came to cover the shooting. And 5 hours later, when they were covering the shooting, the same killer came back and killed the people covering the shooting. And that is a bridge too far. And it is something that I never pondered would ever happen. And now you have to think about how that will impact. If you're in a newsroom, do you not want to go cover a story live on location when there is a suspect still at large? It's a big question, and it's thoughts and prayers certainly aren't working, Dan.
I just don't know what to say anymore, David. Like, honestly, once you're, after Uvalde, you're howling, when is somebody going to do something? And it feels like you wake up almost every morning wondering, well, what happened overnight this time somewhere? Because some town is grieving because is it going to be 5 this time, 7, 9? How many are wounded? It's not always just deaths. You don't know how many other lives are being altered. We didn't even mention a 9-year-old girl, and we don't know how many others can be altered by, when you hear just wounded. My guess is that many lives are irreparably changed there, and I really don't know what to say anymore.
I think you have to look at the state you're in. Right? That was my home for 20 years and think about what's going on in Florida. And when you think that things aren't worth talking about, like what can happen in your school's curriculum and what's happening with books, if you think that none of that matters, then you're not understanding that these issues all actually are related. And when you live in a state where guns are they're good. They're part of what's expected. It's great to have that Second Amendment right. And then shootings and deaths follow and no changes take place. What do? Do you move out of the state? Well, for financial reasons, people are moving into Florida, not out of Florida, and for weather reasons. So I don't think we're going to make Florida better by pointing out the fact that senseless gun violence is taking place. Everyone knows it. Maybe the NRA, this is a horrible thought. I don't think we can put it in the show. What if people in the NRA suffered a tragedy in their own lives that actually was close to them, like a gun shooting or a death or mass killing that impacted them? Would they then change their mind on whether people should have automatic weapons or background checks, et cetera? I was thinking about that the other day.
But David, their response is usually a good guy with a gun. It will counteract a bad guy with the gun. That's always been their line. And also, you mentioned the political state of play in Florida. There is a bill that is in the Florida state legislature right now that will get rid of concealed carry. Like, there's no permits, there's no nothing. Just carry a gun. Is like they're going the other way. And the thing that I don't get is that it just doesn't seem like very good politics to me. Because yes,
it is.
What do you mean?
It's the opposite.
He won the state by 19.
It is good politics. That's the damn problem.
But it's good politics with a lobby. It's good politics with but I don't think that is a particularly popular stance. I don't think that a plurality of Americans wants no legislation on guns whatsoever, no registration. I don't think that's a popular position.
I take umbrage with that statement because it's not like DeSantis and the others are secretly sort of saying they're running on one platform and then doing something else. Can you imagine running on pro-choice and then being anti-choice, right? But no, they're telling you exactly what they are and they're all getting voted in. So I really don't know what you mean by that.
Sweet summer child, Woody.
No,
good politics tends to be what is not good for people. That's what makes it good politics. It is terrible.
And it's true.
If you look at any research on gun issues. I don't think this is a popular stance. I just think that Ron DeSantis, in the overall, his stances are middle fingers to liberals, middle fingers to what you think I should be doing. And so this sort of fits in with the motif of, but I don't think everything that he's done is politically popular. But his overall theme seems to work with Floridians and work with conservatives.
If I may, Whittingham, going the next step on this, because it is the local hour, if you see what is happening in Florida with the housing market crisis and whatever's coming in people not being able to get insurance because everyone's being priced out, the politics of this state, it's the weather as well, but the politics of this state are not deterring anybody from coming here, where you've got the mayor, Gelber, saying that the single biggest impact to our quality of life down here is traffic. It's some of the world's worst now because our infrastructure is so bad. And it's not like every area complains about its traffic. We are empirically one of the worst places to drive because you have cars stacked on top of cars, and we don't have the infrastructure for it. And you can't say that this stuff isn't popular when people are leaving California to come here. It's not happening the other way. They're leaving a San Francisco downtown. It's one of the most heartbreaking things you will find in American. David, you've been in San Francisco's downtown. It is a ghost town. It's a zombie land with a fentanyl problem because San Francisco's down. It's not something I ever thought I would see in America, San Francisco's downtown looking like that.
Well, let's pretend that Florida is a decade behind. Is that possible? Because San Francisco, you remember, was the center of the tech boom. All prices were going up. Everyone wanted to be in San Francisco. All new startups were in the valley. And then all of a sudden it became too much. And the homeless crisis, which was major back in 25, 30 years ago, now has just gotten worse and worse and worse. And now they're at the other side of this bubble, if you will. And I think that is possibly what Miami's doing. The boom is so significant. But the thing that stops me from thinking Miami has a real problem is the politics, is the fact that when you combine no state tax and weather and a DeSantis-like figure in charge and a state that used to be blue down south is now red, it becomes a safe haven for lunatics. And I'm not telling you that if you disagree with my politics that you're wrong and I'm right. I've just been asking, and maybe one of you can explain to me. I was just wondering where in the Second Amendment it says that you have a right to an automatic assault weapon. I don't see it anywhere. And that's not because I'm liberal or conservative, because you don't know what I am. But I don't understand the arguments that are being made. But I do understand the conclusion, which is people are coming to Florida because of the politics.
You guys said so much, but I just want to defend San Francisco as a town. I went there about a year and a half ago. Lovely. Came out of the pandemic all right.
I was there right before COVID.
No.
Thought it was nice.
You guys have not been to downtown San Francisco.
No one leaves Frisco and says it was lovely.
Hold on. When's the last time you were at downtown San Francisco?
Jeremy in the back says he was there 2 weeks ago, and there was a couple streets with a lot of homeless.
No, you avoid the Tenderloin. I've been to downtown San Francisco twice in the last 5 years. Those are my bona fides. Anyone? All right. Cool.
I feel like Jer Bear.
Go ahead. Tell me how
beat
clean
you.
Vancouver is, too. 1995 over here. I'd like to thank Ron DeSantis for overturning some of those NIL laws. However, I think the University of Miami might not be better for it. But I do like that the University of Miami now can have a level playing field with some of these other schools in the nation where the other schools can facilitate NIL deals directly. Now, Florida schools can. Now, in the photo, it was just Florida and FSU representation. That could have been proximity, could have been that they were state schools. I'm not going to read too much into it, but thank you for doing that, Governor Ron DeSantis.
Mike, quick question. You've heard of one-issue voters, right?
That's not me when it comes to NIL, but I
Are you
don't want
the
dude. I don't want the smoke when it comes to DeSantis.
No.
He's proven to be very vindictive, and I genuinely believe that if I say something bad about Ron DeSantis, he will make my life a lot worse.
That is not a good thing to say about an elected official.
So on air,
Yikes.
no problems with you.
Seriously?
Oh,
What do you think he
boy.
can do to you?
No, he's very vindictive.
I know he's vindictive, but you shouldn't be scared of that.
Bullshit. I am.
We should lean into that.
No,
That it's working,
no,
as a show.
leaning away.
you can-
I'll talk
Lean
about
back.
policy.
Lean
but
back.
Yeah, I just saw Fat Joe. I'm still leaning back.
No,
I'm
we
not.
have to lean into this.
No,
I
I'm
wanna
not talking about.
understand
I will talk
what can
about
he do to you?
policy, but no, he's His hand is strong. I want to stay away from him.
I understand that you are
He's a
scared
very scary
of
individual.
something that feels authoritarian, and I know you're scared of state militia. And
Yes.
and that our peoples.
I'm totally no. Him deciding what Black history is doesn't seem like a great idea to me, but I'm thankful for it because Miami. You guys handle it.
Okay, you can run scared all
got
you
it, Mike.
want. I really don't think the point of having these microphones and freedom is to run away from Ron DeSantis
No.
as
Yeah,
2024
I think the
approaches.
arbiter of Black history in the state of Florida should be Ron DeSantis. You guys handle it.
All right.
So now you've changed, by the way. So what you're doing now is a bit.
I think
But
going
I
after
actually
Disney,
thought that
one
it
of the
was
biggest
real.
moneymakers in the state, was a stroke of brilliance.
Here's the problem with your stance.
But
of
I
being
will not
scared of
insult the man over the air. I will not do that. I will not call into question his policies at all. No. Even though he was deeply, deeply irresponsible during the pandemic. And many people
Why
died.
don't you say why you're really scared of him? Because you're afraid that he's going to do
Because I'm a
something
small business owner in the state of
property
Florida.
tax exclusion, and you do business in Florida.
Yeah, I'm a small business owner in the state of Florida, and I don't want him ruining
You
that for
think
me.
fighting with him would be bad for us?
For us, no. For me and my own personal interests, fuck yeah. This isn't my whole world, you know? I got a couple. I got an LLC here. I got an S corp there. Come on, you're trying to fuck with my money here, Dan Le Batard.
And
What's
also,
the difference between an LLC and an S corp, Mike?
Well, the S corp is a different filing that my accountant has to make.
yes, there it is.
But props to you for standing up for the vulnerable.
Thank you. I think that's what I was doing. Me, I'm vulnerable. Standing up for me.
Has there ever been a time when you've been afraid of a politician before Ron DeSantis?
Yeah. Well, Fidel Castro,
Our families, yeah.
Vladimir Putin,
Our families sort of
Kim
recognize
Jong-un,
some of what is happening.
Donald
here.
Trump.
and the prequel Donald Trump was another one. I'll talk about him, but he was too stupid to figure it out. DeSantis a little smarter, a little more worried about him, like the Raptors. They don't attack the same part of the fence twice.
You look like you're disgusted, David.
It's just he's part of the problem, right?
What, me? I'm part
Yeah.
of the problem? No, I
Certainly
vote
ain't part of the
against him.
solution.
I vote early and often. I am not part of the problem.
Nice call out to
I'm not
Chicago.
part of the problem. I just did a whole thing where I called into question everything about, like, we'll pull back the layers here, as I see Jess's body language has been stellar as I've been doing this whole thing.
There hasn't been a lot
I
of
just
support
fucking
of the
torched
bit.
him more than anybody here has.
There has
Dan Le
been
Batard just does this thing, lob it. Oh, you can't do that. Well, I got an opinion. I'll do it in character. I just flame the guy.
I don't think that's a great character for you, though.
What? Passive aggressive flaming to the point that you can't even get it, to the point that Jess just rolled. She literally rolled her head back.
Well, yes, I noticed that she
Well, that's
wasn't.
common during this hour with me on Thursdays.
You're
I
right about
thought part
that.
of your deal was you don't have to be here on Thursdays when I'm here.
I wish. I'm just kidding.
Are you?
I'm kidding.
No, she's not. That's okay.
David, tell
My-
everyone how great the Banshees of Inisherin is. How about that?
What happened with Stan Van Gundy? Was he in a bad mood? Was he tired? Was it late at
No.
night? Was it a small screen?
Didn't like it.
I loved Banshees, and I totally get where Santa's coming from with that. I totally get it. If so, art is subjective. I can have the experience. I really enjoyed Banshees. I thought it was great. But I totally understand why someone would hate it. It is slow developing. It leaves you feeling dark and wondering what the point of all that was. I think it's made for a specific person that has kind of gone through some of that darkness.
I've only seen the trailer for it, and I always see the ratings, and I'm like, this must be artfully done, but I can never be in the mood to go pursue it. Jess, you've gotten attacked with talons from every angle on your love of this movie. Nobody here seems to like
Just like
it.
Mike Ryan, I am the victim here.
I'll stand by you here. I'll give you
It's my
support.
number one movie of the year, Dan.
Also, Adnan's.
Yeah, it was top 5 for me.
Oh, but what I'm saying
Me and a
is
couple middle-aged dudes.
when it was happening with
Standing
Whoa,
Banshees.
what the fuck? Middle aged? Not yet.
Well, I meant Adnan. I meant
Jesus.
Adnan and Samson, not you. Mike.
You know what? I'm gonna walk this one off. Jess, just personal note for you. You hurt me today.
David Samson, this has had no support in the room, this movie, from anybody but Jessica. Jessica is the only one who's been supporting this movie, even as it's gotten support all over the place. You guys are now, it seems to me, when Adnan says something and now Samson says something and now Mike Ryan says something, it seems to me like you guys have all about faced. You don't have a strong opinion here. You're just going with the flow. When Jessica supported this movie as well done, nobody supported her. I watched the trailer, David, and I can't follow it.
It's the best script of the year. Period. And it's the best acted movie of the year. Colin Farrell should win, although I just saw The Whale. And of course, I've seen all of the best actor nominated movies by now. But the performance by Colin Farrell is Academy Award worthy, as is Brendan Gleeson, who's Dom Gleeson's father from The Patient and About Time.
Also,
by the way.
Professor Moody.
What is it?
He's in Harry Potter, Mad-Eye Moody.
Yes, that is true. No, I thought the Harry Potter guy is the guy who died, Robbie Coltrane.
Well, there's more than one actor in Harry Potter, David.
Was Brendan Gleeson in Harry
He
Potter?
was Mad-Eye
and
Moody.
Robbie
Coltrane was Hagrid. You're a wizard, Harry.
He's the ticket taker in Let It Ride, and he passed away last year, and he made it into the In Memoriam, which made me happy. Yeah, can we talk about the fact that I'm turning double nickel on Sunday and I'm struggling mightily?
Double nickel 55. I get the reference.
Doesn't everyone get the reference of what a double nickel is?
Well, I'm just trying to support you.
Only people turning double nickels still use change.
It's like
David.
trying to sound young saying it. Like I'm double
No,
nickel.
double nickel is the game that it's the most memorable basketball game I ever attended in my life. Jordan's double nickel against the Knicks in his first game at the Garden after he was allowed back to play in the NBA.
Wouldn't it be a triple nickel then?
I will not live to be triple nickels.
No, I mean like the Knicks were the. Never mind.
A triple nickel because he had a 55 against the Knicks.
Why does that make it a triple nickel?
Trickle.
It's
What,
wordplay.
trickle nickel?
It's wordplay, David. Bad wordplay.
He said a triple nickel.
That's right.
I don't know what a
Wombos.
trickle
It's
nickel
not really
is.
wordplay.
Regardless, 55.
I hate my birthday, and it's birthday week, and I hate having to pretend like I'm happy about it or celebrate it. And people want to celebrate it because they think you're supposed to, but I'm despondent. I'm actually going to pick out my plot next week.
No.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that?
Because it's not, I've been there when someone's died without having done it. And it's a lot of pressure to put on people. And I don't want to do that to my kids. So I have a whole plan. I'm going to Vegas and I'm going to the Jewish cemetery next to the airport. And I'm just picking out a plot, just me alone in Vegas. And part of when I die, I'm going to send people to Vegas just to drop me in there. One last party that I'll subsidize. Everyone can celebrate, play some craps, and they'll never have to visit me again.
Juju, put it on the poll, please, at LeBatard Show. Are you or have you picked out your burial plot? Because you're going to do that as part of your birthday weekend.
I will shoot your ashes out of a cannon the way that we did with
No,
Hunter
I
S.
can't be
Thompson.
cremated.
You
Not
can't
allowed to be
all right.
cremated.
Well, then I'll shoot your body out of a cannon. Where do you want to go? Miami River?
No, definitely not. The reason why I don't want to be cremated, it's not because of Judaism, which you're not allowed to be cremated. It's because then there's no chance like there was a mistake.
Yeah.
My view of being in the box is, hey, if something went wrong and I'm still alive, I can get out. If you're cremated, you can't take that back.
You want to come? Nah, that's a little creepy. I don't want to be reanimated. All right, so after you die, you have my word. I will shoot your carcass out of a cannon over Ball and Chain in Little Havana. We'll make an event out of it.
I want to be sprinkled on Marlin. I used to want to be sprinkled in section 86C of the Garden, and then a little bit on the turf and the grass at Marlins Park. But no, I'm going full body in Vegas. So I'm celebrating a birthday in Vegas for my niece, and I'm taking 2 hours. I have an appointment, and you go and you look and say, oh, that's a good view. And then you pick out the casket, you prepay, and then when you die, you're good to go.
Do you not think it's overly presumptuous to like make all these requests of people to do with your body after you die? When you die, you're dead. It's over.
Right.
Like, why are you handing people burdens?
More responsibilities
Why are you
from
handing
the
people
beyond.
flights to
Film
Vegas?
out of a moving car on
I'll
95.
do it. You get one thing. I'm in charge of my grandfather's gravestone, and at a certain point, I'm like, this is so much of a hassle. He doesn't know. It's
Why don't
just
you
like
buy
it's
actual
all
care?
sorts of
It's supposed to be
issues.
out of respect for him and his memory.
No, I love my grandpa. You know how much I love my grandpa, Dan. He still has like the temporary gravestone. It's just like at a certain point, I've only like supply chain issues really
Whittingham
made me look like I don't care. I care deeply, but it's just
we
like
can't still be making supply chain issues excuses
No,
in
that's what they
2023.
do.
issue.
Dude, COVID. I don't know if you
Mikey.
know this about the funeral homes, but it backed them up.
Hold
Thanks,
on, is this some
thanks
new
to our
shit?
great governor.
Two of my grandparents
I
died
want to
during
raise money
COVID.
for you
and
right now.
we didn't have supply chain
Dude,
issues.
they're still hitting me with that, and it's just like, and then every time I gotta say the whole story again. I'm still waiting for the Navy to honor him. It's a whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah. How long did it take you to get golf clubs?
Like 8 months.
Same
Pain,
shit.
pain in the ass.
Yeah, and I actually get to see the golf clubs. You know, I get to use that.
Whittingham-
I can't try to use my grandfather without kind of weird looks.
What Whittingham is saying, and it's one of the colder things he's ever said, because he's a guy who will show up at your wedding if you invite him. We are going to do this as a show where you can rent out Whittingham to come to your wedding because he's a decent person who likes the idea of love and companionship and
I love love.
But in this case,
Put that in your Twitter bio. Decent at
You
person.
go to
He's a
funerals.
decent person.
What part of the wedding do you crush, though?
This doesn't imply that I crush it. I don't crush weddings. I just
Scripture reading?
I go and have a great. By the way, if you want me to
I listen
read
to every word.
if you want me to read St. Paul's letter to the Ephesians, I am there.
Oh,
I will
God.
happily do that for you.
Cliche.
The Ephesians.
To the Ephesians.
okay, but the love that I speak of now, once someone has died, Chris Whittingham says, "Stop bothering me with your obligations from the beyond."
I don't, for the life of me, I do not get when people place burdens upon the living from the dead.
Have you
Like,
ever
just-
lost anybody you care about?
Yes.
And you were immediately when they died, you're like, all right, get out of here. I don't want to deal with you anymore.
No, I just, for me, it is so presumptuous as a person to be like, I am turning 55, so because
Double nickel.
because I'm coping with aging, I'm going to hand all these people that I know something to do when I die. Listen, guys, when I die,
Hold on.
I'm
they
gone.
won't have to do anything.
When I'm gone, it's
You're
over.
missing the whole fucking point. I'm doing it all now, so they don't have to do anything. I'm the one who was stuck with responsibility when I was surrounded by death in the past 3 years. Now there's nothing to be done. I'm taking care of it for everybody. So you have it the exact opposite way.
When I die, just play Wonderful by My Morning Jacket. And if you get texted by a guy named L Train, do not pick up the phone. Do not. The VIG got to me.
The
Whittingham,
liability dies with the man.
Whittingham, I'm shocked by some of what you have revealed this hour, but I need to get back to some of what Dave has revealed now. You're not happy about your birthday. You're feeling your age. I want to congratulate you because right now, as part of your birthday celebration, we today are producing what I believe to be the single oldest show in the history of entertainment. I went home reeling yesterday and vulnerable because we did way too old a show for 75-year-old people who do not podcast. We were talking about Columbo, detective shows from the 70s, John Mellencamp, and I'm like, we cannot go that old as a show ever again. It's alienating the demos you want. You want young people. And so today, we have on a 94-year-old who is the second oldest guest on the show. There is someone older than that coming on, but not just older. They make the 94-year-old look like a whippersnapper. The 94-year-old is 9 years younger than the other guest we have today.
Double dime.
You lamenting your age at 55 when you're a young man who marathons, you do 7 marathons on 7 continents, is ridiculous.
Thank you, Dr. Le Batard.
What's,
All right.
what's the matter with you?
I got to talk to David because you're turning the double nickel right now. And I've asked you this a couple times. I'm just going to come out with it because it's been banter back here. You're clean shaven, which makes your hair stick out. Your hair, wonderful, wonderful head of hair. Very dark shade. So people want you to run your fingers through your hair to see if any of it's left on your hand.
No.
Do you dye your hair?
No dye.
No
Now,
dye?
I need to tell you what was supposed to happen. This is absolutely true. I can't make it up. I was supposed to do a photo shoot today. So I shaved last night getting home from a comedy show. I went to see TJ Miller. It ended at midnight. Got back, and then I shaved because I was supposed to get headshots taken in anticipation of potentially sort of things going on in my life where I'd need headshots, etc. And so I shaved, and I had my hair, and I have gel in it, undyed, but it is gel, and it's long. but I canceled it, not just because it's cloudy, but because the clarity that I thought I had ended up being cloudy as well. So I canceled the whole damn thing. So I shaved for no reason. I have gel in my hair for no reason. And I wore an iron shirt, although I still have sweatpants on. So I had a whole plan for today, and the plan's gone to shit.
All right.
So I'm just going to go in the fetal position and suck my thumb and prepare for Sunday.
Whitty just threw the challenge flag.
Yeah, we're getting called in our ear. We're going to VAR. Can you get closer to the camera?
Oh my God!
So we can inspect.
So they don't believe you. They think you're lying. They
It's an
think
iron shirt.
they
Let's
are
see,
accusing you of simply lying.
Can we see the sideburns? Can we see the sideburns?
I mean,
All right. How are the sideburns not got any gray? The sideburns are a tell.
I swear. Listen,
You don't dye your hair?
do I what?
Do you dye your hair? I'm asking you. No. Get out of
The last
town.
time I dyed my hair was 1985 when I made it red, and in 1984 when I got a blonde streak because I wanted to be George Michael.
Samson, Mike Ryan thinks himself an authority here. He has been calling out people on this.
I've done
over-
this before to him, and he said no. And it's a very. I feel like David Samson. Would you tell me if you dyed your hair?
And he's lying well if he's lying right now.
Because he's
And-
got gray in his beard, and for it to not travel up to the sideburns is a little sus.
No, I don't dye anything. I promise you.
Man,
Now I have
dye
also
my beard.
gone public, and I've been regretting this recently.
I also shaved this part because this part gets gray, and I don't understand it. So I just started doing that.
I don't.
That's why I do that. That part is more gray than the other part, so I don't. If my beard's a little, I've told you this. If my beard's a little longer, then I do a little medium brown. Well, medium brown.
Didn't your wife accuse you of looking like a
plastic
90s
surgery?
wrestler when you do that?
Yeah, but that's just like after one rinse, you're good.
Can we talk about Botox and plastic surgery
Oh,
for a second?
please, you got any Rex? I was thinking about doing that body sculpting.
No, that doesn't work.
That's what I meant by I'm doing a lot of work on me.
Mike,
I looked into that.
Mike is Samson. Mike is descending. You're worried about 55 years old. Mike is descending. He's sliding into
Descending suggests that I've got more to go. I was descending 3 years ago.
I'm saying
I'm
that
at the bottom.
Mike, child actor Mike, who's always been handsome and always
Pretty
been
good actor by today's hour.
Mike Ryan, pretty good as a young person who wanted to be a child actor, is aging with Hollywooditis, where he doesn't want to be a dad. He doesn't want to be.
What?
No, he doesn't
I
want
want to be viewed as a dad.
Yes, I'm saying you don't want to be dad style.
No, what are you talking? No, I don't. It was just what. Look, I'm wearing a nipple pasty right now.
Why are you wearing a nipple pasty?
Because
Are
my
you showing
tits look
through?
terrible
You
in
don't
this.
have
Look,
to
here
take
you
it
go.
off.
The
Oh.
He's doing a lot of artificial things to protect the house.
That's just a Band-Aid.
I thought you were saying you don't want
Yeah,
to
but it's a
shine
circle
through.
band. Well, that's actually built to scale.
Looks like something you cover a wart with.
Does that cover your whole nipple?
Not even.
Mike, I need you to explain.
Today was a double band day.
I need you to explain to the audience the lengths that you are now going to in self improvement, physical
It's always
care,
important that you pinch it before so it shrinks it a little bit. And it
so
keeps
that
the
you
form.
can remain beautiful on television. So that you
I'm
can
wearing foundation.
so that you could still be strapping.
A shiny Italian T-zone. I've told you this.
Can I get a list of everything you've done to your body that's not natural?
I did Richard Gere once.
Oh my
What?
god!
Although you could argue that was natural.
Oh my god! I was not expecting a gerbil joke.
No! Exfoliation. What are you thinking of?
Samson, on nothing personal.
Got great skin.
On nothing personal this week, what are you doing? What are the things that people have gotten nowhere else that they could get on nothing personal this week?
Oh, it's spring training, so we're breaking down. Owners are talking. And when owners talk, they're lying and they're not understanding what they should be saying. I did a nice bit on Bruce Sherman, the Marlins owner, who had some funny things to say. Ken Kendrick. I talked about basketball. Just today, I previewed the second half of the season, and it was all about the Western Conference. And I was trying to figure out who's going to come out of the West because I gave cogent arguments why no team is going to come out of the West, and somebody's going to have to. And I ended up, the Ouija board pointed toward Memphis because I couldn't give you any reason why they can't go out of the West, whereas for every other team I could. So that was today. And then we've talked a lot about the Brandon Miller situation. And for the life of me, That lawyer released a 2-page statement yesterday that is so bad.
All right, hold on a second. Let me explain to the audience what this story is in the event that they don't know what it is you're talking about, just to give them the context on this story. Alabama basketball, I don't know how long they've been relevant, but they've got a good team this year, and they've got a story at the center of their team that involves a murder. A player on that team, Darius Miles, is accused of murdering a 23-year-old woman, and Alabama's star player, the person that David is referring to, this person's name, forgive me, it escapes me right now. Brandon Miller is a
first-year 19-year-old.
Yeah,
player.
he's a great basketball player, and he's going to be a top pick. And last night against South Carolina, at the buzzer, as they chant, that he's guilty, as they chant, lock him up because he is alleged to have brought the gun to the killer. Now you tell people, David, excuse me, what it is that the lawyer sent out yesterday that you found objectionable.
So the lawyer who gave his name and his law firm's name, which has his name in it, which is always a good sign for a law firm, that the facts are wrong, what you're all hearing. So he was trying to try the case in the court of public opinion, trying to explain why his player, who's going to be a lottery pick, or was going to be a lottery pick, may still be, really had nothing to do with this murder. But the story is he was driving a car that had a gun in it. It wasn't his gun, and he brought the gun. But what the lawyer was saying is he's never touched the gun. So he just drove the car with the gun, but then Miles came and got the gun out of the car. And what he did is he talked about the placement of the car. And in the statement, he talked about what Brandon Miller's car did not do. And then gunfire erupted and he left the scene. And what I said was, and it was one of my funnier lines in my own mind, although maybe it's a boomer reference, he yada-yada'd the most important part. He went right past how did Miles get the actual gun. No mention of did he reach into the window. How did any of this go down? And it just bothered me because lawyers shouldn't be doing that unless they're after their own self-interest and own self-promotion, which is what this Tuscaloosan was doing, promoting himself. And so I just took him to task. And I don't know whether Brandon Miller's guilty or innocent, but I do know that when you are a suspect or even a witness, you don't start making public statements.
That lawyer, as a lawyer, failed his client right off the bat, correct? Like whatever it is that did happen here. And you have to understand, this is a player who's playing. A lot of people are asking, why is he playing? And given what gun laws are in this country, given that you're allowed to have a licensed gun, David, you end up in a situation where you don't want to say anything if you're Brandon Miller, but Alabama's playing him and Alabama is defending that it wants to play him.
Well, remember, Nate Oates is the coach at Alabama, and he first came out and made a statement and saying, hey, he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's all good. He's not in trouble. No punishment. And then a few hours later, he had to release another statement to say, forget what I said before. I didn't give proper seriousness to the fact that there's a dead person and to the fact that one of our players was involved, and I want to apologize for that. So Alabama's just bungled this or bundled? I can't remember.
Bungled.
Yeah, bundled is like when you're putting together streaming services.
Oh, yes, that's true. The bundle, the ESPN Hulu Disney bundle.
Yeah, got it.
Do you know how much money they make because people don't bundle? They do it all separately.
I got the bundle.
You save a lot of money per month.
Yep.
So they've bungled it so badly. Alabama has, the coach has, and now the lawyer has. And I heard someone dismiss it as, well, that's Bama. But I'm not willing to dismiss it as that. I just view it as malpractice, if not malfeasance. And it goes back circular to our gun discussion. You know, why is it that Darius Miles has a gun and is bringing a gun to an argument? Is that premeditation? Is that murder? We're going to find out. It's a capital crime in Alabama. But again, if you don't have access to guns, then that doesn't happen. And you bring a knife to a knife fight, not a gun.
I think linking it back to the larger issue of gun violence is a good point, considering how many shootings there are on college campuses every week, every year, every month, as is. But I think one of the things that's also been criticized heavily is the way that Alabama's head coach has responded to this. Did you hear his initial comments saying that Miller was in the wrong spot at the wrong time when he was pressed about that?
Steve Martin also.
Yes, he mentioned.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mike was talking to me. It's just,
How is
talking
it
about
my fault
bundling.
again?
Dead show.
Super Bowl week.
Question.
Whatever. You can cut this out.
I'm gonna hang up right now. Are we good, Dan?
Yes. What is the movie that you're reviewing for us?
Oh, wait.
this-
Is Adam Silver a good commissioner? Because the All-Star game tanked. It was awful in a terrible city that they picked, and TV ratings down across the board. And now it's a real problem. And this was after just 1 year after getting loads of credit for the changes that they made.
Horrific ratings.
Yeah,
like,
awful. Biggest drop in, I think, that game's history.
Well, they made it a mockery. That's why. That's what happened. So I think there's a new collective bargaining agreement being negotiated in basketball right now, and it's going to be done before the end of March because both sides can opt out of the current agreement, which is why they want a new agreement. And they're going to find a way to change the All-Star game. They're going to do it in the next month. They're going to figure out how to make a change because they either have to get rid of it, they have to change the rules, they have to make Saturday night relevant again because they're going out and selling a new TV package. And the All-Star Weekend is a jewel event where you get paid a premium and no one's watching it. No one cares. You know, it's a good story for Mac McDung and what he did. That's not whatever's Mac McClure.
Mac McDung.
McDung.
It should be McDunk. Yeah.
Mac McDung, whatever his name is. But the mockery of the weekend is going to be addressed, and there will be changes made. I suggested that we do a classic slam dunk contest on 8-foot hoops. Bring back MJ and Dominique and Sean Kemp and Harold Miner. Lower the hoop to 8 feet and let them do a dunk contest.
It's kind of weird that like we're trying to change the one thing that was working from the weekend.
Yes.
the dunk.
There was
contest.
nothing wrong.
Expendables 5, though.
Yeah.
You could have stars. You could have more stars involved in everything. But
I would love 1v1. Having a 1v1 tournament, but it'll never happen.
But Mike, okay, are you headed down another path here? Because David, you know how much and too much credit some commissioners get for leading these leagues. Bud Selig is a Hall of Famer. I mean, steroids happened on his watch, and these commissioners get to have some pristine reputations before Silver on being leader guys, but Silver came in and was more progressive, was supposed to be better, was supposed to be the new age, and did some things at the beginning to replace David Stern that wowed some people. But now where are we on?
I think it's been a bad year for Adam Silver with how he handled the Kyrie thing, with how he handled the Phoenix Suns thing, and he has this reputation, as you said, entering. He was called the best commissioner in sports, and I don't know if he was necessarily worthy of that. The NBA was in a really healthy place, a lot because of the moves that the players made. And right now, when it's a time to be a little bit more creative and time to be a better leader, I kind of feel like both those things are lacking from Adam Silver right now. And it became a topic of conversation around all-star circles. Is Adam Silver like really the best person to be running this right now?
What made him the best, remember, was during the period back in 20 and 21, people thought that with COVID and with when the death of Floyd and everything that happened, he was at the forefront, right? The NBA was at the forefront. He was working well with the players. And a lot of that was really because of the situation where the NBA has such a majority of black players that Adam Silver had no choice but to do what he did and came out looking good because there was collaboration and there was action. Do you remember in the bubble when a team wasn't going to come out and play? Was it the Bucks who were not going to play? And Adam Silver came in and there was discussion and they figured out a way through it. And that helped his reputation greatly. But since that time, as we've all returned to normal, unfortunately, for whatever that means, but really his warts have started to show and he needs some of your nipple Band-Aids because this All-Star game nail in his sort of I am ordinary and I'm the greatest. I think it's gone now.
But David, what is the actual material impact of that, though? Because their media rights cycle is coming up. They're going to get a massive raise on what they were getting before. They're still an immensely valued product amongst media companies. The Phoenix Suns just sold for $4 billion. I mean, the biggest problem is the problem that MLB and the NHL have to solve, which is what's going on with Diamond Sports and local TV money. That probably is the actual business thing to solve. But from a sport standpoint, what about his leadership is actually resulting in the reduction of the value of the sport?
Well, remember, the NBA is impacted by the bankruptcy of Sinclair as well.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I think like we're talking about the All-Star game being something as a blemish on him or how he handled Phoenix. The actual thing for him to handle is that.
I think actually Samson, he lucks into this part of it, right? Because the streaming services are going to create such a war for their content that Silver got the good reputation from quote unquote leading Donald Silver out of the sport for racism. Like that's
Donald Sterling.
Donald Sterling. But
That's
that's where that started with Donald Sterling, where he's the guy. And what Samson is telling you and what you're saying is that what's most material here is, does he get the TV money at the end? Because he's going to end up being a successful business owner because he's going to make their business very profitable.
And that's the number one goal. So no matter what the commissioners say, their one goal, and Don Garber, you guys who are following MLS, which opens on Saturday, on today's show, we just talked about Don Garber meeting the media and him tweaking the playoffs and talking about the expansion fees and going into Vegas and San Diego. His goal is to get more than one team worth $1 billion. He wants teams to trade at over $1 billion. He wants revenue to go up because he wants the asset to be worth more, because that's how they get paid. Roger Goodell, is he just the right guy in the right place? Roger Goodell is not the reason the NFL is popular by any stretch. Roger Goodell gets paid tens of millions of dollars to stand there and meet the media and get made fun of because he covers for the owners.
That conversation that Mike was having at the All-Star game about, is Silver all that? People have been saying that about Goodell for so long at those parties. Wildly unimpressed with Goodell.
I'm more impressed with Roger Goodell this year than I am with Adam Silver. I think Goodell's actually had a pretty good year, and I do think that you're starting to see seeds of change. I do think that the draft pick incentivization of minority candidates, do yourself a favor and look at some of these staffs for the Rams and the Niners specifically and see how these are teams that have given up a lot of draft capital, and they've realized, oh, if we start moving some of these minority candidates up the ladder, it's actually a competitive
interesting
advantage.
Story. Yes,
Yeah.
they found. I don't know how many people.
Well, Monty had a good thing on Goodell too, and he actually gave Goodell credit for actually bringing about change. And the biggest concern that he has is he's not actually wanting to take credit for this. Like, why are you hiding all the good things that you're doing? I think Goodell's had a good year. The health of the sport is better. This is years after we were saying, the shoe's about to drop. This is going the wrong way.
They survived that.
They improved the play. They've survived. They've realized that with spring football leagues like the USFL that had good numbers, and the XFL, like, these aren't real competitors. It just keeps football in the national discourse. He's made the draft a huge TV event. I think Roger Goodell over the last year has really killed it. Adam Silver,
I think you would have done the same, Mike. If you were commissioner of the NFL, you would have gotten the same money
but that's
and
not
done
something.
the same things as Roger Goodell.
But I would have, which is why I think it's so smart.
But Mike, what's the material impact though of what we're talking about with Adam Silver? The franchise valuations aren't going down. They're going to get more money in media rights. Like, what
does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter is a great question. Does his failings with the Mark Cuban scandal, with the Sun scandal, with the Kyrie Irving scandal, does that matter? I don't know. But the All-Star Game ratings were down. TV ratings are down, and that's problematic. I don't know if they're related. Remember when the NFL was kind of going through this a couple of years ago? We started pointing the blame on players kneeling, and the offense stinks, and the NFL figured out a way. And I wouldn't have trusted Roger Goodell to come up with the creative solutions to find a way. He did. The reputed best commissioner in sports should find a way, should he not?
But the ratings going down doesn't matter. Because the next time media rights come up, Apple still want a bit. Like I was listening to the Andrew Marchand podcast this morning, and they were talking about how, like, they had 7 executives in from Amazon, Google, ESPN, Warner Brothers Discovery, NBC. They had everybody in Salt Lake City ready to bid.
But the
for their
NFL's
rights.
ratings are going up, and the NBA's ratings are going down.
But if they're going to
It's
get
not
more
gonna
money,
impact
then
their
who
broadcast deal.
cares?
All right, but what about the RSNs?
That I will absolutely
That's a
grant to you. That's a huge deal. They've got a big problem. And so does Major League Baseball, and so does the NHL, because they're invested in half their RSNs essentially going bankrupt.
Well, on that note,
story going on in sports right now that no one's talking about.
Right. So on that note, is it incumbent upon the leagues, the leadership, with Manfred and Adam Silver, to take an active role on this RSN? Because on this yeah. How so?
Yeah, they were going to invest and actually take them out of bankruptcy, but then they decided they're going to let them go into bankruptcy and try to get the rights in-house. But there's issues in baseball right now because owners are not happy that Rob went public to say, hey, if this doesn't work out and teams don't get paid and they break their contracts, we'll take the rights, we'll produce the games, we'll get rid of the blackouts. Everyone can watch every game they want, pay for what they want. But by the way, owners aren't going to get the revenue they were contractually obligated to receive under the old broadcast deals. We're not going to make them whole quite yet. And owners went a little loopy because they made payroll decisions based on getting their full broadcast revenue, their full local broadcast revenue. So that's a story to watch as spring training ends and the regular season
David,
begins. Because keep in mind, no baseball teams get paid until April.
David, what is happening here? Because I don't believe it's being covered very well. I've told you before that hour that you do with Skipper on sports business is more informative than any I've heard in this sphere talking about these things. You just explained it to the people, but why is that story that both Whittingham and Mike Ryan are jumping out of their chairs about what a problem it is? Why is that story not being reported with great expertise when it is one of the biggest stories you'll find anywhere in sports?
Well, it was on the Big Suey, and it has been on Nothing Personal, but I'll sum it up for your audience on this show and tell you that decisions are made for payroll based on expected revenue streams. If you have a contract that pays you $1 million a year for 10 years, and you know that if you do nothing wrong, you're going to get that money, you make spending decisions based on the money that you are going to receive into the future. That is what baseball teams do. They look at their local broadcast revenue, which in baseball is a large percentage of their total revenue, not like the NFL, where your national deals are your major components of your revenue. But in baseball, the local deal is, and when you expect to get $80 million, the Marlins are getting $60 million. They increased their payroll to $102 million, the fourth highest they've ever gone, expecting to get paid by Fox Sports Florida. And it's not called that anymore. It's now called Sinclair, Bally's. If that money doesn't come, Bruce Sherman has to put that money in himself because he's got players who get paid no matter what. No matter what revenue comes to the team, the players get paid. So if the revenue goes down, guess what happens? Payrolls will go down, salary caps will go down, and players will be impacted. So this issue, the players and the owners are on the same side.
I want to get to your movie. Just before we get out of this local hour, Mike Lowell is now a legend on the video game MLB The Show 23. And we're all old enough now for Mike Lowell to be...
Just so you know, I play that game. It's a super low bar.
Okay, but he's notheless, regardless.
I think I saw Josh Willingham.
He was graying while he was playing.
Oh,
He's kind of had an old look about him.
Legend.
No, but it's a pretty low bar. Let me look up my Cincinnati Reds roster from last franchise mode.
Okay, thank you.
I think Paul Bird's
I don't
on
think
there.
you need to diminish the accomplishment. It led me as segue to talk to David about the 20-year anniversary of the 2003 title, which he was a part of. Are you going to be a part of this celebration? Is this something that you're willing to talk about? How does this work? Are your feelings hurt that around this time to celebrate your championship, you're probably not welcome there?
Well, it's the 20-year anniversary of 2003, and franchises celebrate that. And what the Marlins are claiming they're going to do is do something when the Yankees are in town, some sort of recognition. You know, and it's more than what would have happened when Jeter was around, because he obviously didn't want to be a part of anything that involved him losing and us winning. But will he bring back Jack McKeon? How could he not? After firing Jack McKeon, he was a part of that. Andre Dawson was a part. Tony Perez was a part of that. Mike Lowell was a part of that. Yes, I was the president of the team. It would be nice to be invited back. I haven't gone to a game since 2017. The fact that I wouldn't be a part of that is hurtful because I was. But I don't want to take that away from the fans being able to celebrate something really cool. And for the Marlins not to embrace their history just shows how petty they actually are.
Is it their history or just you?
What are they running around celebrating 97?
No,
But every Friday now.
it's
Five of them.
It's
Not every Friday. They had Jeff Conine. This is what's unbelievable.
Every Friday
about them.
that they're
They
at home.
brought Jeff Conine back, and they said, we're going to make this huge announcement. And Conine's big announcement was the fact that they're celebrating the 30-year anniversary with some special activations where the Taste of Miami used to be. And I think they could have used Conine a little better. And then Bruce Sherman said how happy he was to have Jeff Conine back because they want some gray hair around. Jeff Conine didn't want to get fired by you, Bruce.
Gray hair. Does he dye his hair? Niner?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. He used to.
And now
But they
he's-
are bringing the teal back. They are leaning into 97. This is true. This is something that's happening. And it should scare you.
I want you all to go to games. People misunderstand that. I mean,
Tyler Clippard's a legend in this. Let's calm down.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Oh.
Houston
That's hurtful.
Street.
He can't be a legend.
He's a legend according to this.
Reliever's name makes me smile.
Maybe Mike Lowell is a legend then.
It's called Houston Street, actually.
Samson, they can't
I
invite
get that
you.
reference.
Samson, they cannot invite you.
Yes, they can.
David,
And
you would-
here's what I
Dave,
want to do.
you would get
I wanna
booed, though,
go to the
wouldn't you?
game anyway.
Wouldn't
I
you
wanna
get
go to
booed?
the celebration and buy a ticket.
You would get booed.
No.
You don't think so?
David.
I would cheer you.
David,
No, I
David.
think David's done a lot to recoup his image a little bit by being surrounded by more despicable people.
Like who?
Like
You?
me, I just put up my nipple tape to the camera. What the fuck are you talking about?
Uh,
I can't see. That's why I wish I were in studio. All of that said, I mean, I've been booed before, but when you're celebrating the World Series, why would you boo anyone associated with that? You may not be happy with what happened after. You may not be happy at all, but you have to celebrate that moment.
David, but wait a minute. You really think that if your name was announced
Now
at,
I want him to bring him back.
oh, well, now we have to
Boo
have him
Zoo
there.
Carey. Boo Zoo Carey more.
No, now we have to have him there. Now we have to fund. Meadowlark Media needs to fund
All right, 12
having him
bucks.
at the game.
Yeah, we'll fund it.
to see if he will get booed. Because I think you would be booed.
You would be booed. There would be a smattering of applause.
I think that you guys are underestimating the nostalgia of having won a World Series and the fact that younger people in Miami just know me as part of Le Batard and nothing personal. They don't focus on the old Marlins stuff anymore.
David, we have you on every week in here, and this room would probably boo if you were announced somewhere.
You'd get a smattering.
I have never been
I
able
do it
to
for the
not
bit.
get past this room, so that's part of the issue.
But David,
Chris, I
so why don't we do
judge.
this, David? Why don't we take John Henry's bus to whatever game that is against the Yankees, and we'll go there and we'll boo you, and we'll see if we could get that stadium to boo you.
I'm so touched. I can't figure out why Jessica's laughing right now. Is this a with or an at?
David, I'm not even
Happy
saying
double nickel, David.
I'm not even saying it's fair that you did a lot of
You went for it with Carlos
I was gonna say,
Delgado.
you did a lot of good stuff down here.
You did a lot of things, but
But-
you went for Nick Johnson that
David-
one time. I appreciated that.
But the
That was
perception.
I thought
actually
Nick
a
Johnson was
great
missing.
trade.
No, but hold
What
on.
about Carlos Lee?
but-
Did I ever tell you my
El
Carlos?
Caballo.
No, David, we get but the perception of your entire regime is negative, and if you don't see that's just the facts.
I think the time has eroded that a bit. I think. I
There-
mean,
but there's
listen,
a lack. There's a lack of
What
self.
about
listen,
Carlos Lee?
David is right in one respect, because young people do forget their history. Samson has done this show long enough that he has a great many fans who think we're assholes because we keep him reminding him how unpopular he is.
You don't get to decide, David. It's like me deciding that my nipples are of normal width.
It's so bizarre that you guys focus on this in the way you do that it interests me, right? The hurt, the level of hurt that you all feel that you're not able to forgive or move past is staggering and disappointing. But and I am sorry, Chris, that I ruined your childhood, and Billy and all of you. I'm sorry that I ruined your life.
You were.
It's okay.
You were the cold
You
business.
did ruin my life. I'm a Cubs fan.
I ruined your life too then for the ironically for the other reason.
What's the movie you're reviewing this week?
I came across a documentary that I think none of you have watched, and I think you will. It's called Inside the Edge, a professional blackjack adventure. This is a guy who is a professional blackjack player who games the system. He's banned in every casino, so he wears disguises. He puts on fake beards. He doesn't show ID. You know those lawyers who tell you when you're pulled over for DUI, which you should never be because don't drink or drive, or you're pulled over for speeding, and they say, do you know how fast you were going? You're not supposed to answer. Do you know in a casino you actually don't have to show ID? That is the true law in Nevada. You do not need to show ID.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't
but
know
no
that.
one knows it, and the casinos pretend it's the law, and they make you show ID, but you do not have to.
Well, they make
So
you,
this-
so you have to. If they make
No.
you,
You can just say no. I
And-
will not do it.
and won't they kick you out of the blackjack table?
They can, but they don't always. What they really kick you out for is gaming the system and counting cards and having systems that are not illegal, but they make you money. So therefore, you can get banned from casinos. And this guy's been banned from
So
casinos.
why do they
all
do
over
that?
Vegas.
Why do they do it?
I'm sorry?
Why do they do it? Why do they check so many people's
Because
IDs?
you're winning money.
Not me.
No. The person who knows how to play blackjack wins money.
All right, but they asked for
Not
it at
always.
the start. They asked for it at the start.
So this documentary, go watch it. It'll explain to you what a professional
Okay.
blackjack player does
I'll
and
watch it.
how they do the count. And it's not just about counting face cards, etc. There's other ways that you get, quote unquote, game the system. But he took a year and he got a John Henry bus and in his own RV, and he drove around to casinos all over the country, and he would hit them for $5,000, $10,000 before getting kicked out. And his face was like on a wanted poster, like Al Capone, this guy. And he still made it into casinos by cutting his hair, changing his beard, and then winning and then leaving. And it's a story of his year on the road and how he won money and then lost, but eventually won a ton, and how hard it is to try to be a professional blackjack player. And they interview these other professional players, and it's a whole underworld that I was not familiar with. It's called Inside the Edge, a professional blackjack adventure. And it really is an adventure. It's a very short movie. It's like 70 minutes, and that's it. And you will learn quite a bit.
David, good talking to you. Happy double nickels.
Thank you.